and so it is. Thank you, Vivian, for being our platform assistant, and of course, thank everyone who came to man their station so that we could hold this service here in person as well as for our virtual audience. And so I'll say good morning to you here and good morning to our virtual audience. You know, last Sunday, I was away on spiritual renewal. And I planned to leave town for a few days of R&R, but for specific reasons that I canceled my trip. And I was to meet a friend in Jackson, and they were unable to come. So I stayed here. And I decided to visit Unity Church of Practical Christianity, located in Cordova. We like to consider ourselves sister churches. And so Reverend Mickey and Mrs. Carolyn Quinton and their spiritual community were very welcoming. And I enjoyed the message and the music. It was Youth Sunday for them as well. So next week, Reverend Quinton and I plan on getting together so that we can plan how we are going to support each other, the spiritual communities, as we honor and celebrate the holiday season. So more information about that will be forthcoming. I mentioned that it was Youth Sunday here, Youth Sunday at Unity Cordova. And I want you to know I watched the video. And it was just wonderful. You could feel the energy that was coming through from the joy and the love and the contributions made by everyone, especially our youth. And it's really important for us to create a community where our youth are comfortable participating. And so I sing praises of our youth and of Gilly in particular, who spent hours working with our youth to get them prepared for our Youth Sunday. So there's lots going on. There's daylight savings time. Well, you know, it's not so challenging as it used to be because many of us are on the Wi-Fi, connected to the Wi-Fi, our clocks are, and so they change automatically. But you know, I woke up this morning, and as I was sitting on the side of the bed, I had a little bit of my talk to complete, and I was wondering why I was feeling like I had so much time. Well, I woke up at my usual time, which is 6 o'clock, but in actuality, it was 5 o'clock, and so I had plenty of time to complete and practice my message for you today. You know, there was two neighbors that were visiting each other over the fence that divided their yard. One neighbor said, "This week, we're supposed to turn our clocks back." The other neighbor scowled and said, "Turn our clocks back? Personally, I'd rather turn my scale back." You know, we had activity and concerns going around regarding the COVID protocol here at the church. And so I have another joke for you to start into that message. What do you call an ant that's been shunned by his community? What do you call an ant that has been shunned by his community? A socially distant. A socially distant ant. Oh. Requiring 6 feet of social distancing between people is one of the several ways our community maintains a physically safety environment for all who come to our building. We also require masks that securely cover our mouths and our noses, washing or using hand sanitizer when appropriate. We clean and sanitize our building thoroughly after our Sunday service and after every special service, like our healing services that we had last month, to make sure that the space is ready and safe for whoever uses it next. And then finally, we ask that you stay home when you don't feel well, or if you're experiencing symptoms like a sore throat or cough or fever. Now, following this protocol is not to shun anybody or make them feel bad, but it is a way that we show love and care for ourselves and for the members of our spiritual community. Most of you already know about the potential COVID exposure that occurred during our last Sunday service. It stirred up a range of emotions from appreciation, concern, fear, distrust, disappointment, and even anger. The greatest concern was around not naming the person who tested positive. After research and discussion, our board, which includes myself, took the position that we needed to alert our spiritual community members as soon as possible about the potential COVID exposure, and to keep confident the name of the person who tested positive. Now, using information from the medical field, HIPAA, which is Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, and our Unity Regional Representative, we decided it was not ours to divulge the who, but the what. However, we left it up to the person who tested positive to decide if they wanted to reveal their identity to others. To be perfectly clear, we are not hiding information. We are protecting a person's right to privacy. Now, on the flip side, there was much gratitude expressed toward the person who tested positive because they had the courage to come forth and let me know so that the leadership team would know and we could share it with the community. There was gratitude expressed for the quick and thorough dissemination of information to our community members. Wherever you are, and only you know this, on the range of emotions that were experienced at the news of the potential COVID exposure is exactly where you are supposed to be at. We are community. We are a spiritual community that accepts people where they are physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, no matter what the situation. However, it does not mean you have to necessarily stay where you're at. Each life situation, whether experienced individually or collectively, as a family or a community, has the potential to challenge and provide us with an opportunity to grow, to bless us. Do you remember about a month ago when I ended my lesson by inviting us to consider, from a spiritual standpoint, that the appearance of COVID-19, its variants, and all the suffering and deaths caused, presented humankind with a blessing, with opportunities to grow and evolve. Have you stopped to consider, after hearing the news of the potential exposure, what blessing and opportunity to grow that was brought to us individually and to our spiritual community? For me, it brought opportunities to connect. I connected with 30 plus people and got to know each one of them a little bit better. To pastor, I wasn't the administrative leader day-to-day operations. I was able to listen, to be a listening presence to each person's concerns and their opinions. And then we had the opportunity to pray together for health and well-being for all concerned. And as I sat back and reflect upon the activities of the week around the COVID exposure, and I was preparing for my talk today, I noticed, out of all the people that I connected with, not one person asked about how the person that was exposed, that was tested positive, how they were doing. This made me sad. And it also showed me the growth opportunity for our spiritual community. So I pulled out the Bible, and I prayed and meditated, and this scripture came to mind. And when I read scripture, I also like to give you a little bit of background. And so, you know, Jesus wasn't just on trial after they arrested him and they brought him before the king. He was in trial for most of his life. He was questioned by the priest of his faith, by rich and the poor. And so I bring to you a scripture where one of the lawyers asked him a question to test him. It is Matthew chapter 22, verses 34 through 39. When the Pharisees heard that he had silenced the Sadducees, this is Jesus, they gathered together, and one of them, a lawyer, asked him a question to test him. Teacher, which commandment in the law is the greatest? He said to him, Jesus that is, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the greatest and first commandment. He goes on further to say, and a second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these two commandments hangs all the law and all the prophets. And I add to, and all our spiritual principles. We are community. A spiritual community where we expect to find people of like mind. People who want to learn and live a life guided by spiritual principles of love, faith, wisdom, peace, harmony, joy, and prosperity. At the core of a strong spiritual community is love for God. The first and greatest commandment Jesus spoke about, gave to our world. God the divine, the infinite intelligence that created our world and flows through everything. And based upon this, we teach that we have a spark of God within us and makes us one with God and with divine love. And divine love expresses as and through us. We say that every Sunday we come together. It expresses as and through us, no matter what. We are encouraged to love and accept ourselves and to love our neighbors as we love ourselves and as we love God. No more and no less. And so, in the aftermath of the news that members of our spiritual community were potentially exposed to COVID-19, I invite our spiritual community to continue to embrace divine love as our core value. To let it be the center of all that we think, we say, and we do. And when faced with any difficult situation, like being notified that we have been exposed to someone who was tested positive for COVID, let's take a breath. 2 or 3 maybe. And in taking a breath, we allow ourselves to ground in the awareness that divine life and love flows as us and through us now. And then ask ourselves, how is divine love going to express through me in this situation? And then thirdly, act. Just don't act to act. Don't act out of our humanness. Act out of our divinity. Act from divine guidance. We are community, a spiritual community with divine love at its heart. As divine love expresses through the collective, we strive to create a loving, accepting, and safe place where each member, young and old, new to our community, or have been here for years, can grow spiritually at their own pace. And collectively, as a spiritual community, we will grow to fulfill our purpose and make a difference in the awakening of our world. Namaste. And let's have our music selection, the one I specifically chose for today. And then we'll go into our offering. God is my source. God is my power. Everything I need. I give thanks for all my blessings. Everything I need. What is it? My power. I give thanks. All my blessings. Joy is my source. My power. Everything I need. God is my source. God is your power. Gives us everything we need. We give thanks. All our blessings. God gives us everything we need. And that song is sung by Karen Drucker. And the name of it is God is My Source. Okay, thank you.